Welcome to the Find Your Gold podcast, where we meet with entrepreneurs to share lessons, challenges, and opportunities that help them build thriving businesses. I'm your host, Kandra Witkowski, and I am the Director of Business Development here at Scoop Soldiers, America's Poop Scooper. We take the stink out of pet ownership, and today I'm joined by Britt of Blueprint Earth. She's going to talk to us a little bit about regenerative landscaping, and we're going to talk about her journey and what she's learned along the way. All kinds of great stuff about stuff that we probably didn't even realize we needed to know. So, Britt, you've built $1 million company in a niche industry similar to us. It seems niche to you, or niche to us, but it's been regular for you forever. Most people have never heard of it. What do you think that people miss when they learn about regenerative landscaping from the very beginning?
I think that people feel like they want to do good. People feel that they want to treat the earth with care, like they want to treat themselves with care. And I think the biggest thing in regenerative landscaping that's missing is that most people don't even know that they can choose regenerative practices. And
Very cool.
so we end up circulating the same practices that uh, the people before us taught us. And we look towards landscaping as something to control instead of something to harmonize with. And I think that the biggest thing that's missing is that people feel like if they don't control it, it won't be beautiful. But it's a different layer of care that gets brought into the garden. When we practice regeneratively, we talk about soil building, we talk about stormwater management, we talk about native plants and pollinators. And we aren't really talking about cutting boxwood hedges into shapes. And we aren't really talking about letting lawns cover an entire area around somebody's home. We're talking about building systems.
Very cool. So the word regenerative landscaping, like, do you have a quick elevator 20, 30 second, what it is, and how do you describe that to someone quickly that's like, wait, what do you do?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, regenerative landscaping is, I call it the high-heeled hippie gardening. So it's this beautiful way of really designing spaces that are elegant and elevated for outdoor living spaces, because truly, we are a part of nature, humans. And we need spaces for us to feel good and to feel inspired to be outside, to take good care of ourselves. And when we create these spaces for ourselves and we look up in life, we start to see that we also live amongst the birds and the bees and the butterflies. And regenerative landscaping creates spaces for everyone and every creature to be. And so as a high-heeled
Just as
hippie,
beautiful as it's just as beautiful as a regular garden. It's just not the squared hedges.
yeah, yeah. I always like to say a sign of a regenerative landscape is that it moves. It's a garden that moves, right? We have such a small percentage of the native prairies in our country left, something like 0.01% of what used to be native prairies. Yeah, it's an alarming amount. And when we look to those landscapes, we watch them blow in the wind and we watch creatures flow in and out of them. And, that's what it looks like. And people like that. People like to look outside their windows and see birds eating seeds off of something they planted in the spring. And they like to see that there's life. And when gardens don't move, when they're stagnant, when you walk down the street, you'll see, a lawn, some hedged creatures that somebody bought from Home Depot or a big box store, and there's nothing in it. But then when you walk past somebody's garden that moves, you see that there's creatures in it. There's food for everyone.
Yeah. I've never really thought about that. So you and I, talked briefly before, and I'm lucky enough to live on 50 wooded acres in the Ozarks. But I'm from Chicagoland, where everything is the burbs of Chicago, where everything is pretty cookie cutter. And we had a very nice lawn. But until I spoke with you last week, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't know that I ever saw anything move. And now I have I'm like I said, I'm blessed and grateful enough to be able to sit on my deck and watch the trees move and watch them, if you don't keep an eye on it, watch the forest grow up over your home, and all the birds and the bees and the butterflies and all of those things. I don't know that I ever really noticed they weren't there. Or they weren't there as much until I moved somewhere and we're doing regenerative landscaping on accident because it's just where we live, and I never noticed it. So I think the more you talk about what you do and the beauty behind it, I think how can people not want that, right?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So what was your was this your original vision and mission, or did it start as something else and just morph into what it is now?
So when I was young, I was always interested in environmental advocacy. And so I was like in Youth Environmental Society in high school, and I was a florist in high school. That was my high school job. And, I think when we're young, we kind of set the tone for what gives us a sense of purpose. And my mom was an interior decorator, and my dad was in real estate development when I was young, and he owned a vitamin company. And so I got to learn about like the microbiology of like your gut, and got to learn about, how different nutrients affect your body. And so we had this framework as a family that was like, construction and design and then health. And it became so clear to me that like now that I do what I do, I'm like, oh, that was just literally like A plus B equals C, pretty
Yeah.
easy equation building. But it was when I was in college that I knew that I had a real dream to help with stormwater because,
Okay.
I think in the last like 15 years, I'm a millennial, I'm inching towards 40. And when it was about 15 years ago, there was like so much like cry for like the health of the water, right? And that was kind of a cool moment because everyone started to turn towards like what does water quality mean as a society, and
Yeah.
realizing that like we do need clean rivers. And I think that I've listened to a lot of those cues in society, both as a kid and then growing up and as a professional, that you start to realize just how important it is because it is the future generations'
Mm-hmm.
wealth. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
think about what we do is like we are generating wealth for future generations so that they have the opportunity for regeneration and for, wealth building within their own lives because they have just straight up sustenance.
Yeah.
And so I
It's
take
like
it
just like we can't just keep taking. We just can't
right.
keep taking and taking and taking. Like it might not be I'm going to be 50, so it might not be my generation, it might not be your generation, it might not even be your kids' generation. But at some point, we're going to be out of things to take. Like
Yeah.
literally out of things to take.
Yeah. And then like the landscaping industry is an extractive industry. Commercial agriculture is viewed as an extractive industry. And so there's synthetic inputs and then there's extraction, cut all the things, take the things away, put in synthetic fertilizers, cut the food, ship it 1,500 to 3,000 miles away. And we know that that's not something that we can continue doing. And so, doing this practice is really about bringing people back to the fact that they do have options and they do have autonomy. And like I said earlier, it's like people want to do good, they just don't know how. And so when we meet people, we do a lot of like luxury landscaping. Like we do high end gardens. We've done boutique hotel, vineyard, golf course. I mean, everything that like people think couldn't look like regenerative practices, we've done it from somebody's backyard to a large scale commercial project. And, when we get to do them in larger scale, like right now we're working on this project in Hood River, which is a wellness day spa. So it's like hot pools
I
and
know.
cold
Sounds
plunges and
awesome.
sauna. Oh gosh, I
If you
can't
need someone
wait.
to spot check your work, let me know.
And it's the second one I've done like this. I've done a hotel that literally is a wellness hotel. And when you get those kind of like buzzwords like regenerative design, sustainability, like the PR that circles
Mhm.
around them is fantastic. And it's very
Mhm.
noteworthy, and so like the project I'm talking about, like it was in Sunset, it was in Dwell, it was in like all of the right magazines that any designer, any construction team really wants to be in. But it was there because it anchored into practices like what we're talking about. And so like one of the things, I really want other business owners to know within the landscaping industry is that this sort of practice is it can be very profitable. It can be something that is very newsworthy. And what it takes is people committing to a bit of education, both for themselves and their clients. And I think that's kind of the key of growing our industry.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, like as you say it, I can totally be like, yeah, that does make sense. Like I said, it does make sense. Like we're literally doing it at my house, but we did. I mean, my husband is way more into that stuff than I am, but it just is natural, right? And I guess I just didn't realize when I lived somewhere else for the other 44 years of my life, that it wasn't as natural as you think because it's always been like that. But I will tell you, like we lived in the Chicagoland area, I had my nephews over for something, and my husband's always been a gardener. And I will never, ever, ever forget, we were out picking carrots, and my nephew Lyndon, who's now 17, like 6'2", he was over, and I will never forget his face as he pulled like a carrot out of the garden bed and literally like looked at us like we had some kind of black voodoo magic happening. And I was like, that's just, and, I mean, he just didn't really know. And so from that point, I kind of, stuck in my head that I want these, even though I don't have children, they're my nieces and nephews, I want them to realize where things come from. And if they choose to live in a condo downtown and buy everything from the store, that's fine. But I think that knowing where your stuff comes from makes it more impactful, how much you use of it, where you get it, how it's sourced, like all of that. And it goes back to exactly what you said, that I didn't like, you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And I don't
Right.
even think people know it. So how did you, like a lot of entrepreneurs are told, like you can't do this because you just got to make money, or if you do that, you won't make money. How have you been able to structure your business based on what you are like the inside of you is built to do, but also provide customers with an absolutely beautiful landscape that they probably didn't even know that they could even have, and still make enough money to pay your bills and feed the family and all those kinds of things?
Well, I was really lucky. I've invested in a lot of business development coaching, whether it be Tony Robbins Business Mastery, working in Dan Martell's coaching program. I work with Ted Miller, who is local to Portland. And, I think when you look at any business, you have to look at it really is a math problem. And
Mm-hmm.
so, whether you think you're in a profitable business because it's synthetic and it's cheap, or like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand why people don't see that it is literally just a math problem. And so,
Yeah.
when you get connected, when you get connected to purpose, right? You're like, okay,
It helps the math problem when you can understand the purpose. I'll tell you
yeah.
that.
And so like the purpose is what is going to keep you connected to making an impact. And it's going to keep you connected to showcasing and educating. And so, when we get ourselves into state and we say, okay, if I, I like this analogy. I actually have said this a lot to myself. I'll share with you. If I had 5 years left to live and I had to start checking the boxes day after day of how many days I had left,
Hmm.
I would choose to do exactly what I'm doing.
Perfect. Like that gave me
And
chills. Like perfect. Like that's exactly the way, like girl, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? Like you figure out what you want to do in life. You love it so much that you can make it a career and a job, and you can feed your family and go on a vacation. Like that's
right,
exactly how it's supposed to be. How do we
right,
get, let's not probably separate podcast. How the heck did we get off of that? Like, why are we all, and I very much love my job here, but how do people trudge into a building with no windows or no lights and spend their entire life hating all of it?
right.
I don't understand. That's probably a different podcast. But
I mean, that's
like you
kind of
should be able to
heartbreaking. Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking to think of somebody choosing that, because we do have a choice in how we choose to spend our day. And, I know that there's just the need to make income and create a livelihood, but there is choice in what you are passionate about. And there is choice in funneling that passion towards what you spend your days doing.
I agree.
And when I think about just like profitability, I think that, a lot of us need to go back to really looking at KPIs and looking at our team's ability to measure themselves, because people don't respect what you don't inspect. I love that saying. And so,
Mm-hmm.
when we look towards, okay, are we profitable? Are we creating revenue that's not just, we're doing $1 million, but we're spending $999,000. We really have to just look towards the numbers, and we have to measure our team. And the truth is when you give people goals, like, hey, you've been here for 2 years and that's great, but if you want to make more money, it's not just based on tenure, it's based on your ability to perform. So what are your goals, teammate? What are your personal financial goals? And how do we help you make sure that you can buy that house in 3 years? And let's look at the numbers together. Let's sit down and create a runway of what success looks like. Okay, so you need to move from, $30 an hour to $40 an hour. This is what that means to the company to be able to pay you that. And the truth is that most bosses are really happy to pay people as much
Yeah.
as they possibly can, as long as the
Yes.
numbers make sense,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And so that's that again, it's like it's a math problem, it's a KPI problem, and then it's holding people to accountability And so that's scorecards and just weekly reporting and making sure that we circle people's goals
I
back
love
around
that.
to say like, hey, this is what success this month looks like. You've got a plan here. What do you need to do to make sure that that's true? And that's the job as an owner, is to measure and to inspire
Yeah.
and
And lead.
to and lead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that goes to building a great team too, because yeah, I mean, like we just put poop in a bucket. It's not all that complicated. All the complication comes from building a team and training your staff and all the little details. I mean, the payroll and all of those things too. But like one of my biggest jobs here with my franchise owners is helping them build a team. And we talk about that, like we do a lot of Mike Andes with this P for P. We do a lot of pay per stop because yeah, we would love to pay you more and have that truck be able to do more work. So the math problem comes up, and then of course there are people that just they get a job, and I'm sure you've got some too that they show up, they do a fairly decent job, and they go home. But there are
Mhm.
people that you invest in because you can see they love it here. They're great for your business. They're great for you as an owner. But maybe they have a couple of gaps in training, or maybe a skill's not quite dialed in. So by working with a team and leaning into the people that are leaning back into you, that just helps your business. And then back to what we said at the very beginning, helps you be a good human and help you further someone else along that maybe doesn't have to go sit in a building with no windows and let it suck their soul every day of the week, right? Like, so maybe there's some of that can tie both of that into the greater purpose of our lives, but then also get you back to providing better customer service for your clients, better design, better everything, which makes you more money, which provides more work, which provides them more money too, right? So it's a big figure eight circle that just keeps kind of looping around. And so yeah, I'm always like, it always touches my heart when I meet a business owner that shares the business behind their business, but then without any prompting leads into how they build their team, because that's how it works, right? Like it's not just about for you showing up, planting some plants, and then getting a check, or for us showing up and taking some dog poop and going home. There's bigger goals to what we do, and I think that leadership and building a team is probably more important than we verbalize. I'll even say verbalize it here, and we work on coaching teams all the time. It's super
Mhm.
important. So I'm glad that you do that. How big of a team are you running? Do you have a
So
ballpark
we're
on? Can you?
yeah. So we're 8 in-house, and then we work with a bunch of subs too. So
Very
generally
cool.
we're doing between 2 and 5 projects at one time. So
That's a
it's
lot of.
fun. Yeah,
It's fun.
it's fun.
I assume it's fun and also very well organized. You can't be running, and I say this with love, that much chaos, right? Like that many people running in different directions without there being a handle on the organization in general.
Yeah, I think when you're like, every business has these moments where they have to grow because so
Hmm.
much of it lives in the owner's head for so long. And like I have been that person for sure. And then you have to systematize and you have to create versions of yourself that are duplications of yourself. And so, I really love AI for this reason. And, we get the opportunity to create workflow that everyone gets to plug into in the way that we would prescribe it so that it doesn't get recreated. And I know that's like such the joy of like joining a franchise is because you get a lot of those systems delivered to you, which is really the purpose. You kind of get a plug and play business, which is fantastic. And so I do see like leaning into building teams is a really important part of how to make that successful. And one of the things that somebody said to me along the way was, remember that your employees are also your clients.
Very true.
And I think that's
Very
really,
true.
yeah. And so, one of my favorite things my granddad would say, my granddad traveled the world. He was a Nobel Prize nominated orthodontist and
Very cool.
he, pretty neat, right? Smart guy.
Yeah.
So he traveled the world teaching orthodonture. And one of the opening lines to every one of his courses was, if you don't love your clients, get out. And I love that. You know,
Yeah.
we might be making outdoor living spaces for luxury homes and businesses. We might just be cleaning up dog poop, but the truth is that you're adding to somebody's quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true, right? Like I mean, in today's, for route based businesses in general, I've been saying this for years, but for pet waste removal, in today's kind of world, like all of the generations, have learned, either the older generations have a little more discretionary income and they want to kind of buy their time back, which I hate even saying that because that sounds dumb, but buy their time back. And then some of the millennials, right, and below, they've learned that if we just work a little harder and earn a little more money, some of the chores that we didn't really want to do, like pet waste removal or mobile grooming or dry clean delivery or whatever it is, we can afford to pay for that. And then we have more time to use our yard, whether it's, hopefully it doesn't have poop in it, but whether it's regenerative landscaped or not, be able to enjoy that. And same thing, like what I said earlier, it's the way it's supposed to work. Like, you're supposed to work hard and then not work hard after that.
Right.
So it's kind of nice that they kind of even out. How do you educate both your customers and your staff without overwhelming them? Because I imagine your staff's probably, for the most part on board, but I'm sure you bring in new people from time to time. How do you educate them in a way, like I said, that doesn't overwhelm them, because you're in such a niche market that it makes sense but doesn't make sense at the same time?
I love this question. So we have our own podcast called Land Language. And so I didn't realize how much of a resource that was for our clients. And what's so nice about being an education-based business and a data-based business is that people show up ready to buy. I don't have to convince them at all. And so all of our marketing, if you check out our Instagram, which is where we spend most of our marketing time, it has so much data within it, but in terms of here's a study based on soil microbiology, and here's a study based on how much water we are taking out of the ground and how it's shifted the axis of the earth, right? And when I tell you that the earth's axis has shifted 31.5 inches, and you think about a stop sign and you're like, oh, I tilt that 31.5 inches, you're like, oh my gosh, you want to know why? That's a lot. And that's due to how much water we're pumping out of the ground, specifically in the Western North America and India, which is huge ag spaces, right? And so if you're like, hey, I want to build you a garden that's built with healthy soils, I want you to know that there is 50%, you'll reduce the amount of irrigation you use by 50% if you do cover up with mulch with 2 to 3 inches. And you just start to educate people. People are like, okay, I want to spend less money on irrigation, on watering my garden. I want to have healthier soils, which has biomarkers of creating anti-inflammatory. There's biomarkers that create anti-inflammatory characteristics within your body. I want to have a sauna, which has a cardiovascular health aspect to it. And then all of a sudden, you're not really selling anything. You're just asking people how they want to treat themselves.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when I think about how I would share what kind of marketing looks like to other business owners, I would say just educate your clients on the reasons that give you the energy daily to be in your purpose and that motivate you to do better, right? And so when you see newsworthy stories, that 31 inches of axis shift was a Popular Mechanics article, I was like, that's newsworthy. I'm going to pop it into Claude and I'm going to work with it, which is the LLM that I like to work with. And I'm going to work with that story and we're going to talk about what that means for our clients, because they look at that and they're just scared. Like, oh my gosh, what's happening to the planet? But if you're like, okay,
it's
here's
good
how
to
you
point those things out. They don't know. So I have a very long career in spay and neuter. I prefer my mutts with no nuts. But also when I talk about the amount of animals that are euthanized every year, people's mouths drop because it's such a big number. You can't even put your brain behind it. So when you say something very simple, which I know it's not simple, of us shifting 31 degrees, I'm like, well, that's not so bad, right? Until you put it with the stop sign analogy, where I'm like, yeah, that's probably not so good either, right? There's something there. So I think people want to know things. They want to know things. And I don't remember if it was, I'm sure it's a famous quote somewhere, but I had a business coach once tell me that, and I'm sure it's a famous quote, something like, nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy. So you don't gotta, if you're just educating your clients, you're not really selling them. You're just giving them the information they need, like you said, to make the decision of what they want where, and not necessarily having to make a good or bad choice. There's all good choices. Just how do you want me to structure it? Is that kind of a good recap?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the key to me is that you have to create a solution at the end. You have to
Yeah,
say
solve the
that's
problem.
the thing. Yeah, exactly. And it's got to be inspiring because people want to buy based on emotion, but then they rationalize with facts. And so, when you can bring somebody into the space of like I'll go into your business, like, I want to step outside with my children and I want my children to play every day and I don't want them to step and poop. Like nobody
Mhm.
wants that. That happens
No,
so
my
much. I'm
dogs
like,
love the bottom of a slide. I don't know why. They love the bottom of a slide every time.
that's so
And that's
funny.
not going to be fun for a mom, is it?
No, no,
So
what's
what would you think the hardest part of scaling a niche business is?
getting serious about your numbers? I think the hardest part is being honest with yourself. I think that's like with everything in life, right? Like we sometimes have a really hard time looking at what is real for us
Mhm.
and saying, I'm going to push myself to do better and I'm going to be in a growth mindset. And so, you know, like I said earlier, like people don't respect what you don't inspect. And so really just making sure that you are continuously inspecting your business is the opportunity for you to scale. And one thing that I really value is continuously educating oneself. So I think that that comes down to the leader of a team really being the innovator to educate first. So like some of my favorite books are like I do love Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. That's a great book. It kind of tells you like kind of the ladder of what you
I don't think I've ever heard that one. Say it again. What was it again? Buy
buy
back your
back your
time.
time. Yeah. Um, I love Secrets of the Millionaire Mindset. I think that's a great book to get people into the state of like what does finance look like for me and my conditioning. And then I love after reading that one, reading Happy Pocket Full of Money. Pocket Full of Money. Yeah. And so I think that I mean I can name off like 15 other books.
Yeah, I know we probably should just take like a separate, just an email go round of. I'm just trying to think of all the books that are on my shelf back at the house. I'm like, oh man, I wonder if she's. So I'll have to send you a list, and we'll have to share a list.
Book club.
We need like a business owners book club or something like
I'd love that.
because I'm
Yeah.
sure we both have tons of time to do something else. But that's, I mean, because
I,
the education part doesn't have to be so crazy, right? Like, yes, the seminars that you go away to and you take and you come home with lists and lists and lists are great, but there's nothing. It doesn't have to be so much. And I'm for most of my life have been like an all in. Either I'm not eating any sugar or I'm eating the whole 9 by 13 cake. I mean, there's no medium for me. And so as I'm getting older, I'm learning that there's nothing wrong with jumping on a podcast or reading one book. It doesn't have to be all inclusive. So I love true crime, but I do try to like throw in every other true crime book, a business book, and there's always something that you can take out of it, right? Even if you think the author was a big ding dong, you at least know not to do that again, right? So there's so many different little things to educate yourself and keep yourself I think you said like the education keeps you motivated to keep doing things and trying things. I mean, the grind of owning your business is exhausting. So having some insight or advice from someone else in a book or a podcast, it can it can be that little bump, that little gap that you didn't even know that you needed to keep going for sure.
yeah,
Yep.
definitely. I mean, right now I'm reading The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, which I
Okay.
think is something that absolutely every business owner should read. And my dedication to myself is 10 pages a day.
Okay. Very good. Like, yes, like I can do that. Like I 100% am like, when I finish this book. And yes, I mean, I always learn something from, I don't know. I feel like I'm still like a 5 year old that is a sponge that just sucks up information from everyone. But yeah, like why am I waiting until I finish this book about true crime that I probably already saw the snapped episode and already heard the podcast when I could literally just read 10 books of 10 pages in the morning and then go do my things. And then I've got extra time later for like my hobby of true crime, which always sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's a great way to call it. I mean, and I think like sometimes honestly when I look at like my own space, I'm like, you know what? I educate so much that sometimes I need to throw in something just for fun, and I haven't done that.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
it is important to balance, you know. And like for me the balance is like get outside and garden. Like my nails are there's so much dirt under my nails right now because this morning I was like I'm going to go plant, you know, another set of lettuce because I just need to get my hands in the dirt. And everyone's got their thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got their hobbies and their business. And like, it's important to have both. And I think that's like one of the joys of reading books like Buy Back Your Time is the fact that you learn like how to exit your role and duplicate yourself. And, you know, when is the right moment for you to hire an EA, an executive assistant? When is the right moment for you to have a house manager? When is the right moment for you to hire for marketing? You know, and you kind of look at your replacement ladder, which is how Dan teaches it in that book. And you can see like which one is, you know, comes at what level. And, you know, I like that for people and business owners because it's a lonely world to be an owner. And it's really wonderful when you ask for support and you know how to ask for that support and what that support should look like.
Yeah, I agree. I think mentorship, having a mentor, even if you're 20, right? Get a mentor and then mentee, mentor, whatever the word is, like the people coming up behind you. It's just, yeah, like we can't, and I'm probably the one that does it myself, right? I'll do everything and you move faster and just work harder. And I think as a business owner, everything that you've not hired someone to do, and even when you have hired someone to do, it's still your responsibility. And the way, you know, I'm sure it works the same in your world, and I'll use technicians for scoop soldiers as the example. You can't have 3 trucks and one customer and buy that 4th truck, right? Like you can't hire someone to scoop 2 yards and then go home. So everything's always got to get maxed out before you can alleviate that, right? And it's the same thing for an owner. So they, you know, they're getting started and they're like, I'm terrible at sales. I hate it. So I'm going to hire a salesperson. Perfect. You got to pay that salesperson, right? And then they can peel off the accounting or, you know, whatever it is, but it always falls back to that business owner. And I think we get to a spot in life where you can't stop. Like you literally can't stop doing whatever. And so maybe for someone that's watching this, that's the opposite, where they're like, you know, I'm not going to read any kind of, you know, not business book because I have so much to do. Maybe they should do the opposite and read 10 pages of a not business book first, right? Or maybe a short podcast not on business. I don't think that people realize that until they get almost 50, that you can't just do everything all the time. It's really hard. It sounds so stupid. It's really hard to stop sometimes. And so similar to you, a little bit, because so you and I are both beekeepers. I did some shenanigans yesterday, moved some stuff around, and this morning it was 8 a.m. and I ran down quick to stick my head in a beehive. If you're a beekeeper, you know that's probably not the ideal time to be checking bees, but there was one hive, and I'm like, you know what, this day is going to get crazy. Before it gets out of control, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to go outside and like center myself on these bees and then come back and kick the crap out of the rest of the day. So I'm very similar to you with maybe not as much the dirt, but with the bees.
With the bees, yeah. I was thinking about you this morning. Actually, I went out and like sat next to my bees for a few minutes because I was like, I'm missing Kandra today.
Yeah. I should have to find the video that we talked about last week where I'm like, yep, there's a bee in my boot. Yep, I'm getting stung.
Yeah.
So
they say beekeepers, beekeepers live longer.
Well, I mean, that's what they say. But yeah, I'm not your typical beekeeper. I'm aggressive and not calm and I'm clumsy and all the things you shouldn't be as a beekeeper. So like I said last week, the bees and I have a very abusive relationship. Them towards me, not me towards them. So what do you think separates somebody who's like buying themselves a job, like a solopreneur buying themselves a job type thing versus someone that wants to build a company of scale? What do you think the mindset between that is? I don't know that there's a wrong, but what do you think the brain shift on that is?
Honestly, I think it's people who are driven by some sort of purpose. And for people have different values, right? Like some people really value making a difference in the world. Some people have a higher value in terms of they want to contribute to the world. Some people have a higher value in terms of they just want to make money and like their home life is what is the most important thing. And, you know, if you look into Tony Robbins, he pulls this all apart into like 7 different versions of what people care about. And so you kind of put together, most people have 2 or 3 that are quite high for them. And when you think about like what your true values are, that's going to tell you if it's really worth, you know, scaling, because some people just want to buy themselves a lifestyle. Yeah. And being like $1 million business is a lifestyle business. You know, they can sleep well at night, but some, and I would call myself in that percentage, really want to make an impact. Like my goal is the $100 million version of our company. It's to be like the Asplunge and the Bartlett trees of the landscaping industry, because the big dogs in the game right now aren't doing what I'm talking about doing.
Yeah.
And I would say if I looked at myself versus like the version of myself that wanted the lifestyle business, because I have young kids, I could just chill and be happy with where we're at. It's because I have a internal duty to want to leave, what I called generational wealth for my family. And that's not just money in the bank, that's an earth worth living on.
Yeah.
And I think that that mindset is what makes me move. And I think that people, when they move into a scaling business, it's for whatever version of their values are maxed with the impact they want to leave on this planet.
Yeah. That's like very complicated and very simple at the same time. So in franchising, a franchisor, I mean, like scoop soldiers, we scoop poop. We're America's poop scoopers. But what the franchisor does is education. We are an education model, right? So there's some other things, but overall education. And so a little bit similar to you is I genuinely love helping people with business. I mean, like I joke, and my franchise owners they've heard me say it a million times, is I'm not a lot of fun at parties, but man, I do love a P&L. I do love a good spreadsheet, right? So there's nothing that it brings me joy to see people succeed, to see when I can look back year over year and be like, man, like last year we had a struggle on this part or that part, or our route wasn't dense, or the marketing wasn't performing, or whatever it is, and see the franchise owner and the business change. And then alongside of that, one of the questions that I work with candidates on very early on is, what's your why? Because I don't think people always know that. I think they think they want to start a business, or I love baking. I want to be I'm a beekeeper. I want to have whatever their thing is. And they don't really necessarily think about the stuff, right? Like the insurance and the payroll and the things, right? And so once they get into like baking cakes or whatever their thing is, they're loving it. And then very soon they don't get to do that as much anymore.
Right.
Because they have to go do the other things. And so I like building businesses with people. I find it enjoyable. I have some franchise owners that like to be in the field 1 or 2 days a week because they just enjoy it. I have some that would rather not. They're fine on the sales side, whatever it is. So I find my joy similar to you, in helping people build businesses that hopefully provides their family with generational wealth, and also more than just the money in the bank, be able to have like their kids as kids be able to run businesses and learn from their parents and their grandparents. And I think that I'm lucky enough to have enough good ideas kind of bouncing around up here, that I'm able to work with franchise owners that help them build the businesses to the life that they want. I don't think people always think about that when they first start, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of times people choose a job and they don't choose running a business. And I think that
Yeah.
running a business, as somebody who like started as a landscape architecture student and now runs a landscape design and construction business, like I don't do CAD. I don't sit down. I haven't for 2.5 years. I sit with my
Hmm.
P&Ls and my balance sheets and I write operating systems with AI and I create systems and I build projects and AI agents. And like, that's actually what my job is.
Yeah.
And sales
Yeah.
is the part that like I have not fully let go of. And I look forward to, you know,
Yeah.
unleashing. But as you build a business, you start to realize that it's not you. And so that it becomes the language of we. And when we value our team as our clients and we value our team as the we, not the I, we end up being able to see that there's something worth building towards and we get to empower the people, our clients, we get to empower our employees, we get to empower ourselves to be able to like step back a bit. And it's step back doesn't mean to take your hands off. It means to step out of so much of the operations and step into the leadership and the ownership role. And like that's what your team really wants from you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's kind of like having a really great parent. Um,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I never thought about that way. Yeah, like totally. Like raise them to get out, go do your own thing, and come back with the sale or the plan or the whatever it is, right? Like there's
mhm.
yeah, I never thought about it that way. Is you yeah,
Yeah,
that was
and
worth
like
the
one of
price of admission today, Britt.
and like what's so cool is like when I think about like the family analogy, it's like you show up to the dinner table with your kids and you're like, tell me the favorite part, your favorite part of the day, right? And like that's like a fun question for families to ask younger parts of the family.
Mhm.
And when we show up to a meeting with our team, the first thing that we talk about is everyone has to celebrate a win. And it can be so small and it can be huge. You can be like, I signed $1 million client today. Like, awesome. Let's all party. It can be, I figured out how to fix the problem in my Vectorworks today, my CAD program. Like, that's a win too, you know? And I think when we train our brains to see ourselves as making progress, and whether it be big or small, and we train our team to come in and show up with celebrating a win, and it can be personal or business oriented, like we create a mindset where we all can connect because we're all like on a high. We're all like we're all in celebration mode. And then we can get into the nitty gritty. And what I love about that sort of mindset as an owner is that when you start with a win and you have to talk about something hard, you'll usually find ways to say it in a kind way, in a supportive way, because you've already put yourself in the mindset of kindness and happiness. And so rather than saying like, hey, everyone, we aren't hitting our numbers this week, tell me who's got the answer to fix this, right? That would suck to hear that. But to say something like, hey, I see that we are looking towards hitting our target, and I would love to know if there are any ideas that can help us make sure that we get there. Like, it's literally saying the same thing. In two different ways. And a lot of
that like, a big smile. Like, I think smiles just, you can't be like, you're an idiot. I guess you could say that. Never mind. I mean, there's the eyebrow. I always think the eyebrows still are there. The smile is there, but when I make, what do they call that? The 11s? When I'm like,
the 11, yeah. Nobody wants to see the 11.
Nobody wants to see the 11s, but I'm almost 50 and they're there. I've earned these 11s.
You sure did, but nobody wants to see you use them for for being upset. Yeah, I think there's just a lot that comes into like the leadership mindset, and what I really want to stress here is, yes, you can read all the books. Yes, you can listen to all the podcasts, but you can help yourself get into state by celebrating your wins daily, by celebrating your team's wins with them. And like when you put people into a positive mental state, everyone thinks a lot clearer, and they're able to create success stories for themselves and for the team and for the company. And that's what we really are trying to do, is create a success story. Nobody wants to be in business for it to fail. We're all here to create a success story.
Right. And it's like I said before, it's a lot of hard work. It is a lot. I don't care if you're scooping poop, baking cakes, or planting plants. It's a lot of work. And guess what? Not all of these days are, I always say, like, you know, you're not always out here farting rainbows, right? And not everything's a puppy dog wagging tail. It's just not the way it is. So if you can celebrate even the little things, like finding the blue pen that you thought that you lost. This is the highlight of my day. And I've had a really good day. I've been missing this pen. It changes, like, there's probably a more technical word, but like it changes like the juju and like the vibes in your brain, and you start off calmer than you were if you just showed up with a meeting like, well, here's the list of things that sucked today, and that's when the 11s come out. I think there is definitely something to, like, as a leader, like, tucking your bad juju back in and take a deep breath, and you've got to, you know, I don't always love the saying fake it till you make it, but smile with your team, celebrate those wins, you know, put your own bad juju away so that you can encourage your team. Because you going in there and just being negative Nelly is not going to get stuff done. Like yelling and screaming and pounding your fist is probably not a great next step for really just about any situation at all.
Yeah. And everyone has like life that has thrown challenges and curveballs towards them in their own stories. And, I have a hefty list of my own. And when I was in my early 20s, my aunt did me a huge favor, and she sent me to go study at One World Academy, which is in Tamil Nadu, India. And now they're called Oneness. The take-home note that I learned on that trip, and it was like 10 days studying mindset and breath work and, wellness as a whole. And the take-home that I learned was that nothing happens to you. Things happen, and your choice is how to respond and react. And so when we think about, there are challenges in business, but they all have a solution. And when we think about when these challenges come up, like there is anger, there is frustration, there is sadness, there is all of the emotions that you have, and you can have them, But if you respond to your business or those challenges from that emotion, that anger, that frustration, that sadness, you're not really responding from a clear mindset. And so when we look at these challenges in an objective way, and that if we could just pull ourselves out of the story and say, okay, this is happening, let me take a deep breath, pull my emotions out of it, and just be able to level set, then we can create a solution. And I think about my team, and I remember one situation in specific where one of my designers had created plans that, like, I showed up to the site and I was like, this is backwards. Like, we have to we're in construction, and this was all decided 6 months ago, but like back to the drawing board. Like, this was so not well done. She was like scared because she was like, oh my gosh, you could be so mad at me, Britt. And I was like, I could, but that wouldn't make me feel good, or it wouldn't make you feel good. So if we can just sit here and just like, this is a learning opportunity. Look at this site from the way that we have to look at the data points, the elevations, whatever. Look at the stormwater, and we create a solution and we do it together. You're never going to make this happen again. You're not fired because of it. Like, this is just an opportunity to see why these data points and the information we use as our baseline in design is so important, and now she's been with me for 5 years, and like, she's left.
It was just like it's not that you were angry, you were probably just a little bit frustrated. And literally, if you take one step back to take 2 steps forward, right? Like, it wasn't a scrap it wasn't a you're getting fired. It's a let's just take 1 step back, and then we'll go 2 steps forward and we're back on track again. I think that's
And if I were like, oh my gosh,
use your junk.
Right. And like I could have been like, oh my gosh, this happened and this happened to me, and I'm so upset because now I have to go spend all of my time to go redo it, and now I have to teach her, and there's so much money loss and like time loss. I could have told myself that story. But the choice became, how do I actually want to live? Like, what state do I want to live in right now? And that's a mindset choice.
It is. It definitely, this is like part podcasting, part therapy, because you and I are probably the opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm very pointed, and I can get wound up pretty tight. But I'm learning as I'm getting older that's like, I probably need to, and I'm not like a jerk all the time, like that kind of thing. But there's sometimes where I can like take the breath and have the words and get in the car and then lose my junk and be like that, blah, 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 like that kind of thing. So I'm just learning in general, like I can be, I'm like professional on the outside, then I lose my junk later. And I'm learning that's not even great that either. Cause then, I didn't, I did right by my staff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I did right by myself, because I'm still angry about something that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. It was a bump. We fixed it and now we're good. Right. Like, it's total different. The mind shift is something. And I think that I think the younger generations learn that a little bit quicker than us old ladies do. But I think us old ladies are trying really hard to catch up with you guys.
It's exhausting not to,
Exhausting. It's exhausting all the time.
It costs way too much.
No, in terms of dollars and lack of sleep and just the cuckoo that's running around between my ears is great. There's not enough bees in the world, Britt, for me to settle down and be calm. But I'm trying every day. I'm trying.
Good job. I mean, I think awareness is step one.
You can just send me an address on where to submit my therapy payment for today.
That's so funny.
So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to kind of talk about home services. Why do you think home services remains an overlooked opportunity for entrepreneurs?
I think that people up until now have wanted to be in the white collar business because of income. And so now I think we're seeing it go in the opposite direction because of AI and because of technological innovation. And so I have probably 5 emails a day that come in asking if people can invest in my business or buy my business, which is interesting. And it's a nice problem to have.
little forward, a little interesting, just a
Yeah.
random.
But I think why that is, and it just started in the last, year, is that people are seeing that their jobs are going away in the white collar industry. And so I think that we're actually kind of a gold mine, to be honest. So I think what people are missing in terms of realizing the value of home services is that we're the industry where we're still going to be human to human. We might use AI
Yeah.
to optimize our systems or do repetitive tasks for our business, but we still show up as humans to human spaces. And in the AI innovation world, I think that people are going to get even hungrier for that because
Okay.
I don't know if you look on Instagram, but when I look on Instagram, sometimes I go, is that a real account? Is that a real person?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
And that's creepy.
Yeah. It is creepy. It's very creepy, but also AI has been so helpful, and we're barely using it to the point that we should be using it, and it's already so helpful. Like I don't know how it's not going to be helpful, but I do think the more, like you are my first podcast that we're done not in human form. We moved because for us it was literally I just can't keep flying all over the country for all my other things and these podcasts. But I think as we
Yeah.
do more video meetings, and people are working from home more, which I do think is great, works at the home life balance, all that kind of good stuff. I think at some point, maybe it'll swing at some point, but at some point I think we're going to come back from no human interaction. Like, and I think it's sliding back down to where we want more human interaction. And so maybe our
Yeah.
jobs where we're route based, we don't have brick and mortar, but we still are we're more human to dog, but like human to dog. I think I think they are gonna take another step forward. I think it's been overlooked because of probably exactly that. They think if you're a home service business that you're, and I don't love the phrase, sometimes they're called like chuck on a truck, or like solopreneur, or buy
Mhm.
yourself a job, which I don't know why you did, because sometimes you can buy yourself a job. But yeah, I think we are gonna, maybe that's what we need, Britt. Like the world needs to get less sitting in brick buildings and get more outside. I know you and I would agree, be outside more. It's probably just good for you in general.
Yeah, I think that like it really lets us beg the question of like how do we want to take care of people and that comes down to how do you want to take care of yourself and your
Yeah.
closest loved ones. And I think when we look at our business and we look at innovating, I think we have to ask how are we going to create the most raving fan client experience and how do we want to take care of people in a way where they feel loved ultimately. And when you're like making a space where like there's a clean outdoor space, there's a beautiful outdoor space, they aren't stepping in dog poop, you're saying like I'm here to help you take care of yourself. And I think that's a very kind mindset to come from, is that you're
Yeah.
there to help people take care of themselves when you're in home services, because they are in boxes, most of them behind screens all day, and you have the luxury of being outside. You might be scooping poop, but you literally spend your day walking
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
driving from place
And
to
then
place and then
when that
walking.
client comes home, they can just check their mail and get the kids and go outside, or have a nice tea or a cocktail on the deck, and then watch their dogs frolic in the yard, right? And not have
Mhm.
to be worried about all those landmines, or to your industry, come home and similar things, sit on the deck and watch the kids play and enjoy seeing the movement of their yard, and like the bees and the butterflies and the birds and all of that, all tied into one, right? So they're paying for pet waste removal and they're paying for landscaping, but what they're getting is not just that.
Right.
It's way more than that. Way more than that.
Mhm.
So my favorite part of a podcast is rapid fire. You want to do a couple of rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
All right. So what was the best business decision you ever made?
Investing in coaching.
What was the worst business decision you ever made?
Taking on debt.
So that's so what's your solution for that? Like grow it as you scale up, or what is your is there a top secret information for that one? Do you have the
Yeah,
secret?
it's max out capacity before you grow.
Perfect. Yep, we talk a lot about that too here. So what do you believe in? And I already know the answer. A strong hustle or a strong system?
Strong systems.
Yeah. What's better, profit or growth?
Profit.
What kills more businesses, bad leadership or bad marketing?
Bad leadership. 10 out of 10.
And why do you think? Do you have a quick follow-up on why you would choose leadership?
Leadership has a choice to be able to choose how everyone gets to grow. And so when you don't have good leadership, you aren't teaching a team how they get to grow.
Great. Yep, I would agree. What's the most underrated opportunity in home services?
Stormwater management.
And so if there's somebody out there you're based in the Portland area, which Scoop Soldiers also has a fabulous franchise in the Portland area. If you're not in the Portland area, how would somebody find someone similar to you in other parts of the country? If they watch this, they're like, yes, this is Brit's touched my heart. This is what we got to do. How do they find someone? And how do they find someone that's good and not going to blow smoke up their behinds and take their money and not do what we were hoping they would do?
Well, feel free to ask because we have a lot of friends who do stuff like this around the country. And this keywords you're looking for are regenerative. Sustainable is kind of a buzzword, so I feel like that's a greenwash one. But you're looking for native plants and you're looking for stormwater management. So if somebody can talk to those three things, soil building, stormwater management, and native plants, they're probably in the right industry. And most landscapers can't talk to any of those three.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good place to start. All right. So my last question always is if you had one piece of advice for a business owner about we talk about the grind, right? The grind is hard. What's your one take it home piece of motivation to motivate someone who either wants to start a business and is scared or is in it and is like, I can't do this anymore?
Find your why. Literally find the piece of you that says that this is worth living for because you'll want to show up every day. And make sure along the way that you do take time to take care of yourself because if not, it won't last.
Very true. You should everything you say should be written in a t-shirt, on the back of a t-shirt or like a motivational, right? Like Home Goods or something. They have I don't know, I've been there a long time, but they got a wall full of all these little hand painted things. Everything that you said should really just be put on a wall thing because you're so my I think I shared before, my mom and dad passed away in November of last year. My dad was famous for his one-liners. His were more the difference between borrowing and stealing. You bring the shit back. Those kinds of dad advice. But I'm going to put you up in the top 5 of great advice. But you didn't yell at me or cuss at me. So that's
not once.
So you're right up there, right? You're up there. It's right at the top. So, but we very much, I know that running a business is super busy, and I know you got littles and, your own family and life and house and all those things. So it's taking time out of your day to share your insight with somebody else who's either in the thick of it or considering it, I think is wonderful. And I'm glad. I know you have your own podcast and you're on other podcasts. So I'll thank you for all of us for taking time to educate us and give us those little golden nuggets that help someone decide whether business ownership is right for them or if they should keep doing it. Because I know you probably would agree that there's certain days you're like, God bless America. This is not going to be a fabulous day, but I'm going to smile and do right. And tomorrow's going to be better. I know it's not always quite so easy as it seems when you're like, I am the CEO. You're like, well, what does that mean? That means I'm the end of all the things that never got done.
Yeah, right. Chief janitor some days.
Yeah, right. Everything from payroll to literally taking the trash out, right? So, but we're glad that you're able to take some time and meet with us. So thank everyone for joining us today. Before we go, make sure you like and comment and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Find Your Gold podcast. And of course, if you're looking to start a route-based business, Scoop Soldiers and pet waste removal is never a bad way to at least consider. And then, of course, if you have information or questions I should ask for Britt, we'll make sure we tag all of her things. But the question really is, are you ready to find your gold? And if so, we'd like to encourage you to check us out at scoopsoldiersfranchising.com.